Hi, everyone. I'm glad that you could make it to this presentation. We're going to discuss some timely coping mechanisms and suggestions that you can use at any time when you're feeling the blues. So, what are the blues? So, what I mean in this case are changes that adversely affect our being, changes in climate, weather, light that adversely affect our human physiology through hormone and chemistry changes and psychological effects. Recognizing the impact of these changes may include any symptoms affecting activities of daily living, such as feelings of loneliness, sadness, irritability, some problems sleeping, weight changes with overeating and decreased appetite, changes in sex drive, decreased motivation or increased restlessness, overwhelming emotions such as depression, anxiety, crying, or violent outbursts, any changes that you personally experience as different or diminishing to your well-being. Although we say the winter blues, the blues are not restricted to winter. I know you know this. We've all experienced some of these feelings at different times in different seasons, but today I'm going to focus on what can we do about it. In the definition I just provided, I mentioned climate, weather, and light. So they actually are all tied together, and one or more or all of them can be affecting us at any given time. So the challenges are dependent upon the type and climate and area that you live in on this planet. And that includes any of these areas that are presented here: Arctic, Mediterranean, arid mountains, and the seasons that you're experiencing and the effects that it may have on you. So this is something that we're kind of used to. And the cartoon basically says it all. In summer, it's too hot to go outside. In winter, it's too cold to go outside. And that's what we're familiar with coming from Canada. But this can be switched regardless of the seasons. It can be switched around depending on where you are on this planet. So it is affecting us. The seasons depend on our exposure to the elements, the snow and the sun, the length of days, shorter or longer days, changes in exposure to sun, whether it's more or less, and gender and age. Women, studies show that are more prone to seasonal variations in weather and cause depression than so in men. But also between the ages of 15 and 55, you're more susceptible to seasonal effects. And also resources. During times where you can't get outside, available resources such as food, clothing, shelter, transportation may not be available. So depending on the weather you're experiencing, although it's tied to the seasons, this includes common storms and conditions. For example, where I'm recording from here in Denmark and northern Germany, winter has a lot of rain, whereas in New Zealand, they can have unrelenting heat waves. And as we're all aware now, climate changes towards crisis. You're experiencing this possibly firsthand, or you may be experiencing secondhand. So you might be directly impacted, having to evacuate your home, rebuild or clean your home, or you could be indirectly impacted. You may have friends or family in an area of involvement. And all of this leads to worry, feelings of helplessness, which will cause mental stress to rise, and that in turn affects your physical stress. So all of these are external factors, and they can affect our internal environment. So, like I previously mentioned with the symptoms you may be experiencing, there isn't enough time in this webinar to get into all the details of how and why each of these things can affect you, but we're going to highlight some things so you can understand a bit better. We're going to look at 3 broad topics involved, and these are your physical, ingested substances, and psychological. And the reason we're going to do it is so that you can gain control and focus on things that you can do so that you're not going to feel so blue. So let's look at physical activity. I'm leaving this up here for a long time, and I may read a little bit, but I need you to understand that this is first and foremost the most important thing that you can do. So physical activity, just start moving. Just Do it slowly. If you're not doing something right now, go for a walk. Walking 4.5 kilometers a day decreases your risk of dementia, and taking a walkabout break. So if you're at work or if you're doing work around the house, take a break, 5 minutes every 30 minutes, and it decreases the risk of diabetes and cardiovascular issues by decreasing your blood pressure and glycemic levels in your blood. Bonus points if it's outside, and we'll talk about that more. You can try the 10 by 10 by 10 plan. So we feel overwhelmed when we have the blues, lethargic, unmotivated to exercise. It's easy for me to sit here and say, oh, you should get up and exercise. But instead of committing to something big, do it in small chunks. If your goal is a 30-minute a day walk, then break it into 10 minutes. 10 minutes morning, 10 minutes afternoon, and 10 minutes before dark. And use your apps. Use your apps to try to help you to get motivated, to use YouTube workouts, the apps on your phone in order to aim for 30 to 60 minutes a day for 5 days a week, and make it a blend. Make it a blend of different exercises. Try dancing. Dancing is shown to pair music with activity, and our neurons tend to love that. So take a class, go to a club, have a night out, or just around the house. Throw some music on. This little slide that's just popped in from Calm, I have Calm app, and it's an app that you have to pay for, but they came out with Beating the Winter Blues at the same time that I was creating this. And I found their third slide was the same message, just keep moving. And I know you're losing your motivation, but just do something different. Try breaking up your workouts. If you're already active, change your routine, and it helps to improve your motivation, stimulate your brain, prevent boredom. It helps you to build up different muscles and decrease overuse of muscles that you're already working out with. And again, try to do it outside. So, sunlight exposure. Of course, you knew I was going to talk about that, right? So, the amount of light that you're exposed to during periods of decreased sunlight, either due to the seasonal condition or weather conditions, or it could be self-imposed, because if you are feeling the blues and you're feeling down, going outside or being with other people is not the kind of thing that you tend to want to do. But that change in light exposure affects your hormones, and in turn affects your sleep and your mood. This is a busy slide, so we're not going to read all this. It's a little more than I need to cover here, but the important bit is right here. You're going to have more energy, improved mood, and a better night's sleep if you can get more sunlight. Now, again, I'm not going to go through all of this, but I need you to understand that serotonin and melatonin are the important guys. They work together in tandem in order to maintain a healthy circadian rhythm, and for you to get a good night's sleep to feel restored each day. So serotonin, it's your wake up, feel good chemical. It's the production that comes directly from how much sunlight you get. The brighter the sunshine, the longer the exposure, the more serotonin in the brain. Serotonin is also produced in the gut. So an amino acid called tryptophan, obtained from certain foods, can also help you produce serotonin. Melatonin, on the flip side, that's your calming sleep promoter, your max relax guy. And that's produced when the light gets dimmer, and that's triggered by darkness. It's also available in a different means too, as a supplement, and over the counter. Most drugstores now will have it. So if you question your balance, you can take supplements of 0.3 to 1 milligram a half an hour before bedtime. So light up your life. If you go out into the sun, it helps to balance your serotonin activity, increases your melatonin production, and balances your circadian rhythm, and increases vitamin D levels, and therefore it improves your emotional state. So how can you do this? Well, one of the things that we've talked about already is getting outside, being active, going for walks or exercising. But if you can't get out, move a chair or workstation or kitchen table next to a window that gets light. Plan a vacation to a sunny place if you're able to do that. You can do your own home light therapy. Buy a light box, and there's lots of options out there, desk lamps, light visors, or dawn simulators. And try to get about half an hour every day of decent light. So in the morning and mid-afternoon, you know that time in the afternoon when you just feel like, oh, how am I going to get through this? And it's about 3, 4 in the afternoon. That's about the time that you need your extra serotonin in there. And what it does is it helps balance the melatonin at night. So you do end up with a better sleep. Still on the topic of physical issues, the American Canadian Academy of Sleep Medicine recommends that as an adult, you get a minimum of 7 hours sleep per night, and that's quality sleep. So if you don't think you're getting that, you might need to look at something that's going to help your sleep. Sleep's a huge component of mood. So without adequate regular sleep, our circadian rhythm can get disrupted. And it also disrupts cortisol rhythms and impacts hormone production. So increases our stress, and it affects both physically and mentally our overall health. To get enough quality sleep, it's best to follow a regular sleep-wake hygiene schedule. And what that refers to is the schedules that you perform throughout the day upon awakening and before sleeping to maximize your sleep and re-energize your body and ensure your best alertness and productivity. I'm not going to read all these out to you because you can take a look at them after, but basically there are things that you do when you wake up. Don't hit the snooze button, open the curtains, have your coffee. Your coffee is good to block adenosine and give you that wake up feeling. And when you're going to sleep, shut off your devices or try to limit the light that's coming off of them. Remember, blue light is the worst that we can use. So try a number of these things and you might find that you'll get a better night's sleep because of it. This is just a website that I wanted to share with you because I found it very good for anybody who's got any kind of issues with regards to sleep. It's mostly geared towards people who work shift work or night workers. And you can do this whole tutorial on your own. So the information is for anybody who's having questions about sleep and how they can fix their own sleep issues. So on to the next section, ingested substances. The first thing that we should consider putting into our body is our food. And everybody asks, what's healthy eating mean? Because we always say, have a healthy diet. So these are your basics. This is the absolute basic things you need to think about. Include protein and fiber with each meal. Vegetables and fruits are high in fiber. Eat when you're hungry, stop when you're not. Choose fresh over processed as often as possible because processed food tends to have a lot more sugar in it. Be aware of your portion sizes. And for you, this might mean weighing or measuring. So you might have to buy a scale if you don't have one. Use sugar, alcohol, and caffeine with awareness. I'm not saying cut it out, but I'm saying use it when it's necessary, limit it when it's necessary, and repeat what works for you. If cereal in the morning is easy and fast and it's healthy, just do it over and over again. There's nothing wrong with repeat meals. Preparation also helps. So when you get your groceries, chop everything up right away. If you want carrot sticks and there's no carrot sticks there, then you might grab a cookie instead. So make sure they're there, have everything ready. So there's a lot more detail with regards to all of this information, but I have for you a free download. And it spells out all the information you need. And this was written by a trainer called Alicia, and on Instagram she goes by Angelish Fit. And she's shared this nutrition guide with you guys and myself. And she is a 51-year-old woman who's had her own battles with weight and exercise since she was very young. She lives just outside of Toronto, and she's very motivating. So I'm really glad that she shared this with us. I hope you can download it and take a look at it. And we mentioned previously about serotonin and how it affects your vitamin D. So vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin. It's that substance that we require to absorb calcium and phosphorus to build stronger bones, and it increases our serotonin and maintains systems within our body. So also, people who are known to be depressed, most of them suffer a low vitamin D. There's a correlation. There's no proven fact that it causes anything. It's not causal, but it can help pull you out of a bad mood. So get your vitamin D, and you need a minimum of 200 international units a day to survive, but you need 600 to 1,000 a day if you want to thrive. If in doubt, you can take supplements, and you can find them almost at any store nowadays. Keep in mind, D3 is animal processed, so it comes from animal sources, and D2 is plant sourced, so that's better for vegans. D3 does absorb better and it's more effective, but if you're a vegan, D2 is the way to go. And if you see D1 anywhere, basically it's just a generic term for either or. The good news is that we make our own vitamin D when our skin is exposed to sunlight. So it produces its own fat-soluble vitamin D. Or you can eat foods that are rich in tryptophan, like I mentioned earlier, and that's egg whites, meats, most nuts and seeds, or bananas. Also, vitamin D-rich foods. Just to be aware of them, I have a little list here for you so that you can use that as a reference as well. So, non-foods. Non-food ingested substances are something that most of us deal with on a day-to-day basis. And the reason why I separate them is because they can cause lots more problems than our actual food does. These substances are not essential to your life. They may be harmful to your physical and mental health. They create tolerance and dependency. All of these show some extent of tolerance and dependency, from minimal effects to having severe cravings in all of them. Addictions. Consider eliminating, decreasing, or limiting their use. They affect chemicals in our body, particularly serotonin and dopamine. So once they're ingested, they can affect your mood and behavior. That feels great sometimes initially, but they can, with these disruptions, they're going to be harder and harder for your body to deal with. And they're all linked to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, increases in blood pressure, restlessness, shakiness, insomnia, headaches, dizziness, fast heart rate, dehydration, anxiety, etc., etc. So all of these non-foods have limits to them. So I'm not saying do not enjoy that glass of wine if you want a glass of wine. What I'm saying is that limit what you take. Keep in mind any drugs that you take. This is the same idea. The key here is that the top of the photo is an antidepressant and the bottom is an antidepressant. So if your lifestyle modifications and other low-level interventions do not provide enough relief from the blues, consider seeking professional help. Try the top one first, but if it doesn't work, then go to the bottom one. They are both helpful, and that's essentially what you need, is you need to fix this. So the psychological aspect of the blues, I'm putting my bias here right out front, because if you do the other areas first, this aspect will take care of itself to some extent. You will improve your mood. You will improve your outlook on life. If you start being physically active and pay attention to healthy eating, this will fall into place. and you will have more energy and you'll be more motivated to do some of these things, like personal projects. So I've just put a few things out here that maybe aren't on other links that I've provided. Self-analysis, determining areas that you want to improve and who with. And you'll see that at the next bit when I'm talking about being more social. So analyze what you want to work on. Me sitting here and saying you should do this isn't going to help you. You need to be the one to figure out what you want to do. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, it's a very good therapy that we use all the time in professional circles. But there is self-help instruction, and I've included that in the resources at the end of this, that you can go online and you can work through it yourself so you can see what can help you better. Organize and budget. So dealing with financial strain is huge. Oftentimes our blues come after the holiday season. We've spent all our money. Now we're trying to figure out what to do. Or we might be disorganized because we've had holidays and there's been a lot of things going on. So now we're trying to get back to normal again. So just taking the time to organize and deal with that disorganization can help you pull down all that stress. If you need to get away, if you need to kind of forget about things, and if that is going to be the thing that you might think helps you with your stress, take a night class, start a hobby, do something different to take your mind away from some of the things that you're dwelling on. Get social instead of withdrawal and worrying and thinking within your own self. Open yourself up to family and friends. But as I cautioned first, make sure these are positive encounters. Make sure you decide who you want to be with. Don't just go with all of your friends because those are the friends that you always go with. Just give yourself a few minutes to think about it and think about who's the more positive person in your life. What's the more positive thing I can do? You can get involved in your community, volunteer in events or organizations. And your community isn't just where you live. Keep in mind, right now, we're in a community on this webinar. So it could be with anybody involved in this webinar. It's having the same interests. If you have a pet party, find someone else with the same kind of pet. If you don't have a pet, maybe it's time to get a pet, but don't go out and get a pet if you're not ready to make that commitment. But you can share a pet. I shared a pet for years and it was wonderful. Helped the people who actually owned the pet, and I wasn't ready for that commitment, but it helped me with my stress levels. If you don't belong to a church, but you are spiritual, it might be time to look for one that you fit into. And if you're not really into the church idea, but you feel like you might want to get involved in a community and that happens to be close to you, there's nothing wrong with going and getting involved in church activities. So don't hide. That's the basic message here. The last thing that I'm going to talk to you about is relaxation. And because it ties in with all the other things, detaching from the news. So instead of watching the news every day, reading the paper, whatever you do to get your information, just detach from that a little bit and start looking for good news. So instead of, say, every day looking at overall news of the world, take that and do it 2 to 3 times a week. But make sure you fill up with the good news, the positive things. Be mindful of things that you do. And if you don't know mindfulness, there's apps that can talk to you about how to be mindful and how to go about that. Yoga, everyone thinks of yoga when we talk about relaxation, but it also involves balance, strength, and stretching. So it can actually be flipped up to the physical area that we were talking about earlier. You can use apps such as Calm, like the one I mentioned previously, but there is a cost to that. Overall, it's not a big cost and you have so many things available, but I always also recommend Smiling Mind because it talks about mindfulness and meditation and it's free. It's from Australia and it's free. Have a massage, go to a spa, or go to an individual practitioner. Acupuncture is also something that nowadays in most countries, we can actually just go make an appointment for. Read a book, have some hygge. Hygge is very Danish, and we do hygge all the time. And hygge could be just me inviting friends over for Fish Friday. We do Fish Fridays once in a while. Everybody brings their own piece of fish, and we just get together and talk and have a drink. So make your own hygge. Hygge can be anything. And why are all these important? Excuse me. Just gonna have a drink. Coping mechanisms are actions, behaviors, and thoughts that we purposely, whether it's consciously or an automatic subconscious response, we do this and use them in order to deal with stressful situations. Some examples can be using humor in uncomfortable situations, turning to religion in periods of sadness, increasing physical training to feel better. Their use is healthy and normal. However, some coping mechanisms are maladaptive or harmful, such as the use of alcohol or other substances, even food, to make ourselves feel better. As the expressions go, the poison is in the dose. So too much of a good thing. So if you look at the side of this chart that has the healthy adaptive list, and the flip side is the unhealthy maladaptive list. And all of these things, even though they're unhealthy and maladaptive, for example, we've already talked about having a drink of alcohol. Sometimes it's nice to have a drink of alcohol with friends, but think about your motivation. And why does all of that matter? Well, because small habits and routines become bigger, long-standing problems. And I'm specifically referring to severity here. So if you self-medicate, it can lead to alcoholism, substance abuse, addiction, etc. All of these things. Decreased sleep leads to changes in your hypothalamus, leading to further problems and increased risk of chronic diseases. So it's the severity of what's happening. And that's what I want you to keep in mind when you're thinking about the coping mechanisms that you go to in order to deal with things. Lingering and creeping symptoms can become confusing. So maybe you're trying to do something, but it's just not working. And you may be experiencing seasonal affective disorder. So I just need to say a little bit of something about seasonal affective disorder now. Usually we used to do a webinar on this specifically. However, it's not as prevalent, and many of the symptoms are exactly the same as what we would call the blues. Blues is just a lot more common. And in SAD, the severity is ramped up. So if you think that you may have this, then you should pay attention to your symptoms and seek help. SAD is a depressive descriptor, and it has a seasonal pattern that supports other diagnoses. So depression and bipolar disorder are quite serious. And although that there are people that suffer around the world, they suffer sometimes in silence, not understanding what this is. And then it becomes coupled with more prominent diagnoses. So there are links in the resources in case you have a personal interest or in case you're wondering if you or someone else is suffering from this. But we talked about the blues here. So let's just recap on the blues. We talked about aspects of the broad topics of physical, your activity, your sun, your sleep, relaxation. We talked about ingested substances, your diet, drugs. We talked about psychological, so support and relaxation. And the reason why we address this is because it's important to deal with the blues and be familiar with your coping mechanisms, both in the short term and long term in relation to their consequences. And now you should have a list of items that you can deal with on your own, as I've noted here. And I recommend this website, the 32 Ways to Beat the Winter Blues, because it's quick and easy. And I've included some of the things, the ideas throughout my webinar, but it's just a quick, easy reference. And if your efforts don't alleviate your blues, then you may need some help. Make an appointment with your healthcare provider for advice. You may need counseling, specialized treatment, or medication. Counseling, monitoring, psychotherapy are very important, and your healthcare provider can help you with those. Medications such as antidepressants, mood stabilizers, or if you happen to be female over 38, then you may be moving into perimenopause. And if you are, that may be aggravating what's going on with the blues. And you may be a candidate for hormone therapy. And it's something that you might want to discuss with your healthcare provider. This is just a list of the resources that I recommend looking at if you're interested more in this topic or some of the other topics that are there. And I hope this helps you to pull away the blues and get back to your sunny routine. And if you have any questions, you can send them to Amanda, or this is my contact information if you have a more private question or comment that you would like to share. I would like to thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. And I hope that some of the information here might be new and beneficial to you, or at the very least validates what you already know. Thank you.